So good morning.
Good morning.
Welcome back, or hello again. What I wanted to do in this series of talks is to give you a picture of what it's like traveling on the Silk Road now. Now for me, last trip was about 10 years ago. There's some redundancy between some of the slides that you'll see or visuals you see today with some of the ones that you saw before. I'm trying to present it from a slightly different perspective than I did with the art and history. There's a map in the back. There's also a copy of the schedule if you did not get one last week. The map is a little different in that it doesn't focus so much on who all the people were, but more gives you a picture of the cities, where they're located, and the route we will be traveling. We're going to start in China, in Xi'an, and then go from there westward. And the last place we will go is in Turkmenistan. So we won't go into Persia because I didn't go to Persia. And so what this is a compilation from 3 different trips. The first one was to China in 2005, and the second one was to 4 of the stands in Central Asia in about 2013. And then the third one was only to Uzbekistan and the Silk Road cities there. So let's go. Just an overview. As we saw when we talked about the history and the development of the Silk Road, there are a number of cities in China that played key roles in the trade of the Silk Road and that are well worth visiting today. They were particularly important from about 700 to 1100 CE. This was kind of the height of the Silk Road in China. There are a number of artistic and architectural elements, treasures that we can see today as we travel on the Silk Road. And visiting the cities today gives us a glimpse of what things were like in the past, but also I'm going to look today at some of the political tensions in far western China and Xinjiang. There was a lot going on, a lot of political unrest there, and I want to close by looking at that. So here's our map. We're going to start in Xinjiang, go to Dunhuang, to Turpan, and then Kashgar today along that northern route all around the Taklamakan Desert. The key cities that I want to look at, to take you to, are Xi'an, Dunhuang, Turpan, and Kashgar. And we'll go in that order. That's going from east to west. So this shows another map showing those cities, the route we're going to take, Xi'an, Dunhuang, Turpan, Kashgar, and we'll talk a little bit about the general setting of western China as well. This is the city of Xi'an as it exists today. And this is these are the walls of the old city. And this was where the merchants, remember I talked so much about the Sogdians. This is the area where they lived, and particularly over in here. This is the center of the city right here. We'll look at the dome tower, and particularly look at the Great Mosque, and then some street scenes, particularly focusing on the Muslim part of the city. So this shows you the drum tower here, the old city walls, and then a camel caravan reconstructed for current historical interest. This also shows the old city walls, and these walls are are really quite intact. I mean, some of it's been restored, and the watchtowers along the walls here. This is the Big Wild Goose Pagoda, and you can see the pagoda style with one layer on the other. This is the Little Wild Goose Pagoda, close to the city center of Xi'an. As I say, to me, the part of Xi'an that I spent the most time in was the old Muslim quarter. And you can see here just a typical street scene in the Muslim quarter, a bazaar, a woman cycling, but you can get an idea of what the bazaar is like. In addition, in the old quarter, there's a lot of street food, and you can see here the shashlik, the kebab, and clearly they go through a lot of food. This is the mosque in Xi'an. It is unique. Well, let's put it this way. It's distinctive as a mosque because it incorporates major features of Chinese architecture along with the typical architecture that you see in a mosque. This is the entrance to the mosque. This is the interior of the mosque. And you can see the prayer rugs on the floor. And the decoration is very, very Chinese. Well, one of the things that Xi'an is most famous for now are Emperor Qin's Terracotta warriors. And the story behind their discovery is an interesting one. A couple of farmers were digging the well, and they came across a figure like this, and it turned out to be one of the most spectacular places that you would ever want to see. If you've ever been there, I don't think you'd ever forget being there. The farm, there were 3 farmers who discovered it, and if you go there now, one of them is usually signing books. Whether it really is the guy that discovered the figures or not is up to debate, but I've got a couple of books that he signed in what he considered to be, and I consider to be good faith. So here's what you walk into. This is one of the, there's 3 buildings like this. This is one of the larger ones. This is the equivalent of 3 football fields in size. The figures, many of them were broken. They have been reconstructed. And one of the things that people talk about is that they're all different. Each one is unique, which is pretty amazing when you think about how many thousands of these there are. To me, the word awesome is overused. I think that in my list of things that I've seen, this is one of 3 things that I consider to be awesome. The other is the Grand Canyon, and the third is the Rajasthan in Samarkand. But it's absolutely incredible. I mean, you'll walk in, and if it doesn't take your breath away, I would be quite surprised. So here's a close-up of some of the figures. It's still under, there's current excavations that are going underway. So when you look and see all those walls, there's probably more figures underneath those walls that just haven't been excavated yet. Another view giving you an idea of the size, and you can see the horses. Oh boy, every time it's an adventure. The horses. So leaving Xi'an, we're going to go west. We're going to go to Dunhuang, and this is where, or just outside of Dunhuang, is where the northern and the southern routes of the Silk Road diverge, and we're going to be going along the northern route. Just outside of Dunhuang, is what are called the Mango Caves, and these are what give Den Haag its fame as a point of departure for tourists. This was an important place for pilgrims, for Buddhists who had gone to India, Buddhist practitioners of Buddhism in China who went to India to discover the way that Buddhism was practiced in India, to bring back scripts, paper scrolls, records, descriptions of life there. Well, the caves are not natural caves. The caves are carved into the side of the hill in sandstone. I can't remember how many there are. There's well over 100, and this has become a major tourist attraction in China. When you visit the caves, you have to go with a guide, and you have to go with a guide who has a flashlight, because they have not added illumination into the caves. And at any one time, somewhere in the neighborhood of 20 caves will be open to tourists. And they rotate them so that you don't get everybody going in, breathing, and contaminating the environment at the same time. So you go with a guide, you go with a guide with a flashlight, and you are not supposed to take pictures inside because of concerns about damaging the art, the frescoes particularly. This shows the reconstructed exterior of one of the large caves, and this is taken at a time which is very atypical, that is, you don't see a lot of people. Because, as I say, this is probably one of the most popular tourist places in China, and it's always crowded. So this is if there is such a thing, a typical cave interior. You can see the painting on the walls. You can see the various kinds of figures. You can see phoenixes. You can see dragons. You can see the Spartas, flying creatures. You can see the carved statuary there and portraits. This is one of the ones where when the Muslims came, they decided that this was blasphemy, that you don't, according to Islamic tradition, you do not show human figures, and so many of these, you can see, had the eyes scratched out. And so a number of the caves the figures are defaced. This was an important city for travelers and for merchants as well as the Buddhist monks. And the travelers, the merchants, when they came back from India, they decided that it would be a good idea to achieve more merit by decorating caves. And so most of these caves, or many of these caves, were paid for by merchants who were returning from India on their way back to Xi'an particularly. And a number of them, you can see the pictures of the donors. Along the sides here. This shows up better, I think, in this next one. The figures here, but all of this highly illustrated, and a number of them represent Buddhist stories as well, Buddhist sutras. This is one of my favorites, and it shows the diversity of the ethnic groups that were here. And you can see the various figures of Buddha in the middle, and then figures that represent a number of different ethnicities and nationalities. So all of these are carved, plaster Paris stucco. And it's really very dramatic. But one of the most dramatic things in the history of the caves was the library cave. This was discovered by, well, there was a Buddhist monk that was taking care of it. R.L. Stein heard about it and basically convinced the guardian, Abbot Wang, that he should share the riches of the caves with Stein. He managed to, over a period of time, begin first with a few scrolls at a time, taking them out of the caves, or out of the cave, single cave, library cave number 17, and then ended up with cases and cases of these that are now at the British Library in London. This is the fellow on the left. This is after Stein was there, and he already got his share. But you can see there's still a lot of scrolls there. There was a wide variety of items and in a wide variety of languages, because this was a crossroads. And so you had things like sales receipts for sheep, marriage licenses, slave contracts, and so on. Then the picture on your right just shows the exterior of the cave with scrolls removed for basically to take this picture. So we're going to go now into the farthest west of China. This is the area called Xinjiang. It used to be called Xinjiang. Its title is the Xinjiang Uyghur Autonomous Region. The Uyghurs are a majority group in this area, but a minority group in China. They are predominantly Muslim. They are a Turkic group. They speak a Turkic language. And what's happening in this area is that there are increasing numbers of Han Chinese coming in and basically destroying the Uyghur culture and physically destroying their buildings as well. There are major ethnic tensions. There have been riots in Urumqi, which is the capital of the province, and these have continued over a number of years. Recently, within about the last 5 years, the opposition has increased, and the Chinese have built internment camps, what they euphemistically call vocational education and training centers, which are basically concentration camps. So they round the Uyghurs up and place them in these camps. So this is the current political situation. For a while, Urumqi was closed. This is an area, Xinjiang used to be entirely closed to foreigners. And it's been open, I can't remember, probably 50 years, but it was basically a closed off area there in Western China. So here it is. You can see it. This is a map of the capital of the region, the autonomous region. We're going to start looking at Turpan, and then we'll go over to Kashgar. Turpan is just south of Urumqi. You can see here the location of Xinjiang on the map of China down in the lower right. So the first place I want to go is to the Turpan Depression. And you can see here, this is a schematic map that shows the Turpan Depression. Points of importance. Here is the city of Turpan here. Here are the Xinjiang Mountains, the Tianjin Mountains. These are the flaming mountains that we'll see in a minute. This is the ruin of one of the old major Silk Road cities, Kaohsiung, and Jihao, another one over here. So we're going to be looking here, and down in this area. So these are the flaming mountains. And they really look like this. This is not AI. You know, it's hard to know nowadays when you see a picture of how well it represents reality. But these are the flaming mountains, and then another shot here, and camels, which are ubiquitous in this area. This is a place called Crescent Lake. It is with a pagoda, and these are called the singing sands because when the wind blows, the sand makes noise. Now it's very popular. You rent a little sled and trudge up to the top, and then slide down these dunes. And there are also, this is the place where I rode a camel in China. They are also camel caravans that take tourists around, and they give you a little flag to wave, and then they take your picture and they charge you lots of money for it. But anyhow, it is now documented that I was on a camel in China. Well, this is, I talked about this in the other side of the, I was talking about the Silk Road. This is a car system. This is a system for irrigation. It was developed originally in Persia, and it is a way of getting getting water from the mountains down into the oasis cities. And so this is along the side of a mountain, and there are openings, these vertical wells, to take water down into an underground tunnel right here. This then goes into a reservoir, and then from there it goes into fields for irrigation. This is still active. It's an active system, Interpon. This shows you an aerial view of the oasis here in the background. And each of these holes is a vertical shaft that's dug down into the tunnel that's underground. And it's the way that they remove sand to keep the channels flowing. The channels are big enough that people can walk in them. We're not talking about little irrigation canals here. We're talking about channels that are, say, 4 to 5 feet high and similar in width. And so every so often you find these holes that represent vertical wells where the refuse is removed from the canal. So the mountains are back up here, and so the water is going down here to the oasis, to the city of Japan. Here's what it looks like now in Japan. So this is where it's opening up into a cavern in the town itself. From there, it goes into irrigation canals, and from the irrigation canals, it goes into grape harbors. And the grapes are grown in profusion, and they are used to make raisins. And so the grapes are harvested, and they are placed in sheds like this that you see scattered throughout the landscape. It has a roof on it, but you can see it's open on all 4 sides, so the air can circulate through it, and they hang grapes in the shed like this, huge quantities of grapes. They are dried and converted into raisins, which are a major cash crop for Japan. This is the raisin market, and you can see there are more kinds of raisins there than you thought ever admitted or ever existed. And it's interesting. I do not have a picture of it, but basically they bring the grapes into the center of the marketplace, spread them on the ground, on a tarp, spread them on the ground, and women sort them by hand. So they're sorted into the various piles based on size. Different kinds of grapes, of course, have different raisins, but it's an interesting process. When I was there, there were more donkey carts that were hauling the raisins in than motorized. So it's an old tradition, still works, and they still make a lot of grapes. One of the highlights of the city of Chirpan is the minaret of the mosque. It's a very distinctive minaret. The minaret, as you probably know, is used for the call to prayer. It used to be the mezzo, and it would go up, climb up the stairs, and now they've got a loudspeaker up there. And this is the minaret in the mosque in Chirpan. This is predominantly Muslim. This is Uyghur territory, Uyghur town. So continuing west, we're going to go to Kashgar, which is in the far west of Xinjiang, close to Kyrgyzstan, one of the Central Asian republics. Kashgar is a historically very interesting city. This is the Uyghur Old Town. Whether this still exists now or not, I don't know, because these are the kinds of things that the Chinese came and destroyed to build shopping centers and malls. They basically have tried to destroy the Uyghur culture because they are Buddhist. I'm sorry, they're Muslim, and although they are the majority in Xinjiang, I think it's like 80%. Used to be about 80% of the population. They probably dropped now because of the number of Chinese coming in. But basically, they are being replaced. I would be surprised if this still exists, because this was the area of the city that was targeted for demolition and conversion into shops and so on. This is a street scene in Kashgar. Uyghur women are veiled with these very heavy brown cloth veils. You can see if you see the guy there on the right, the cap he has is very characteristic of Uyghurs. It's a skull cap that's embroidered. The other guy has a basic Islamic skull cap, but the guy here on the right has this very characteristic hat that we see with the Uyghurs. Well, Kashgar was really interesting from a historical perspective. In the 1800s, there was a lot of political posturing taking place in Central Asia and in Xinjiang, with the Russians on the north and the British in the south in India. And the British were very concerned that the Russians would move through Central Asia into India. And so that there was a lot of political intrigue, a lot of spies, and the spy capital, if you will, was here in Kashgar because of its location basically between these two. It's an incredibly interesting history, very, very complex, but the bottom line is that the Brits were in India, the Russians were in Russia, and the Russians were trying to get through Afghanistan, Pakistan, and Central Asia into India, or at least that's what the Brits were afraid of. And as you know, the Brits and the Russians had several conflicts, including the Crimean War. But the idea of Russian expansion was of great concern. So this is the British consulate, a place called Chinniba. This is where the British spies would hang out with the viceroy. This is open. We had lunch here one day, and then not too far away is the Russian consulate. And so each team had its spies, and this was, as I say, the kind of the center of political intrigue. This is the main mosque, the Friday mosque in Kashgar, the Attica Mosque. This is a Friday, and that's why all the people are there. Friday is the sermon, and this is in the square in front of the mosque on a Friday. This is right in the heart of the old town of Kashgar, and the part that's being, as I say, actively destroyed. Another major Islamic monument in Kashgar is Kosa's tomb. It's a little bit outside the city, but you can see the characteristic Muslim woodworking, those pillar posts there on the interior and the exterior with tile. Right next to that is a Uyghur cemetery, and there are a number of stories about who is buried here, whether they come back as jinns, that is, as spirits. One of the most beautiful women in China was supposedly buried there. She was sent to, as a token bride, if you will, to the Shah, or the Prince of the Uyghur Prince of Kashgar. And she is supposedly buried there, but people say that her spirit has come back, so who knows. Now, one of the things that Kashgar is most famous for is the largest statue of Chairman Mao that still exists in China, and you can see this is his imposing presence, and you can see that all of this stuff is Chinese, it's not Uyghur. The flags, the posters, and so on. One of the things that Kashgar, in addition to being famous for the great game, is the markets and the bazaar, and we'll take a look at that. This is the outside of the bazaar, and you can see a lot of busy, happy shoppers. You can go inside, and there are rows and rows and rows like this. The clothes will be in one section, ceramic, porcelain will be in another, and this is just a typical market. This is mostly Chinese now. Well, what's not Chinese is, let's see, this next one is another interior shot of goods in the bazaar. But what's not Chinese is what Kashgar is really famous for, and that's the Kashgar Sunday market. From a touristic point of view, there are two Central Asian markets and South Asian markets that are particularly famous. The Kashgar Sunday market and then the camel market in Rajasthan. This one is held every Sunday. And what it is predominantly is a livestock market. And you can see here, you can see the Uyghur hats, caps, and chaos. But they know what they're doing. When I was there were no camels. I was really disappointed because I really like camels. But there are plenty of cows, sheep, and goats. And so here you can see a woman with some goats haggling with somebody who would like her to take a goat home with her. These are goats. And then here we've got cow, and they are deciding on a price. Again, you can get an idea of what those Uyghur caps are like, and a lot of business. The people come from Kyrgyzstan, across the mountains into here and come from all over Western China to this market. Well, there's also a part of it that's vegetables. And so you can get an idea here. I think those look like onions. And you can even get a better idea of it here. So there's these, I think we got, those are onions, potatoes, grapes. But the market will be organized in different areas for different kind of products. How do you decide who you want to buy from? I have no idea. I think the prices are pretty consistent. But, you know, this happens every Sunday. And as I say, this is one of the major tourist attractions in Western China. People will plan their trips in China to be in Kashgar on Sunday. Well, in addition to cattle, sheep, produce, this is a center for other activities as well. Barbers. Well, being a guy with a beard, and at that time a little more hair than I have now, I was a target. They wanted to give me a haircut and shave. You can see basically they shaved their heads. Well, I did not succumb. I escaped with beard and hair intact. But these are guys lined up outside of the market, just on the edges of the market, cutting hair. So I want to close by looking at some of the issues of the repression of the Uyghurs, repression of the Muslims. This is a shot right outside the hotel where I stayed when I was there. This is the old city wall, and you can see the police surround or patrolling the wall. You can see police here on guard. They're protecting the Chinese businesses. You've got, in addition to police, you've got army, police and army on patrol. And basically they're looking for dissidents. They don't need much of an excuse to arrest people. There are a number of books that have been written by Uyghurs who have left the country because of the political oppression and portray what it's like. This was in Urumqi at the height of the demonstrations. There are a number of people who were killed. There have been, I can't remember exactly what the timing is, but there was a major one in about 2020, 21, 22, where several hundred people were killed. And those who were not killed, a number of them ended up in places like this and sprung up literally almost overnight. It's kind of like the alligator Alcatraz. You can make it really quickly if you want it. And this is one of their quote-unquote training centers for Uyghur dissidents. So in closing, as I said, many of the cities in China were key during the time of the Silk Road. They continue to be of importance and interest from a touristic point of view. When we visit these cities, we can get a glimpse of the past, but also, if you keep your eyes open, get an idea of what the current political tensions are, and avoid being in places like Urumqi when the police are at their most active. So with that, I will close and take any questions. Yeah.
So Lowell, I'm quite intrigued. You're probably a lot younger when you did this trip. What was your travel style? How did you put this all together? You and your wife just kind of take off?
The question is, how did I put this together? I didn't. As I traveled a lot independently, but most of the travel that I've done in the past 20 years. First, I was in China in 2005, so that was 20 years ago. Most of the travel that I've done have been group tours. So in China, for example, I was was invited to give a paper at a meeting in Beijing, and got lined up with a tour group from New Zealand, and they had been in Central Asia. They'd come through the pass to Kashgar. I joined them in Kashgar, and so I traveled with them. It's nice. I've decided it's really nice to have somebody take care of you. I have traveled a lot extensively, but most of my travel in the last 20 years, I've been in the Balkans 5 times. It's always been with a tour group, usually always small groups. The group I was with in China, there were 14. I was the only American, mostly New Zealanders and Australians. As an example, on this trip, I flew from Beijing to Urumqi to Kashgar, joined the tour group in Kashgar. We went by road, by bus to Urumqi, then by train to Turpan, then by road back to Urumqi, flew to Dinhong, train. Well, mix of trains, planes, and automobiles, basically, and ended up back in Beijing. When I was in Central Asia, the first time I went with a Uzbek tour company called Roxana Travel. It was supposed to be a group tour of 4 stands for 3 weeks. It turned out that the group consisted of 2 of us. My travel mate was a female British prison guard who was a smoker and bipolar and off her meds about half the time. So for like 3 days she didn't speak to me. Well, that's not what I had in mind for group travel. The second time I went back to Uzbekistan. I traveled with a company called Avan Tour that specializes in Caucasus, Central Asian tours. And they were really good. That was a group of about 12, but it was only for 10 days. They really had trouble. Roxana had trouble getting a group together. I think it's changed now. The amount of travel to Central Asia has increased dramatically.
You know, one thing I could really recommend, if you can find them, to travel with a group of New Zealand people is amazing. Yes, they speak English, but they are so totally different culturally.
Ed's point is if you can travel with Kiwis.
Yes.
Or Aussies. I mean, Kiwis and Aussies are a lot different, but don't get them confused. But Aussies are fun to travel with as well. Yeah, man.
So I have 2 questions. You have that slide with the women with the brown veils, and that looked even more significant visibility blocking than a regular burqa. How do they see?
It's a mesh. It's a
There was a
fine,
mesh there?
it's not a tight net. So basically, they're looking through a knitted veil. Yeah.
Okay. And then the second question was where you have the grapes in the dryer. Do they have a lot of loss because of insects and desert rats and things getting in?
Well, that's why I don't know about the insects, but the rats. They hang them up. I don't know that they've got rats there. They may well have, but they managed to get a lot of raisins. They may have a lot of loss too. And yes, Nancy.
The Uyghur internment camps, how long do people stay there, or is it an indefinite thing?
The question is, in the internment camps, how long do they stay? It's indefinite. And nobody knows they're there. I mean, basically, people just disappear off the street. There are a number of books. I don't remember book titles very well, but there are a number of books that have been written by Uyghur dissidents in this country that really portray what it's like. Yes, Kathy?
Those stone warriors, were they built to memorialize some war? Or
No, the question is the stone warriors, they're actually terracotta. They're made out of clay, and they were built by Emperor Qin to guard him after he went to the underworld, or I really went to the underworld. after he went to the afterlife. They know where his tomb is. It has not been excavated. It's said that within the tomb, his casket is surrounded by a river or a lake of mercury, mercury, and they know where it is, but it has not been excavated. Yeah.
Let me go beyond your current thing, but China has Sunday. Do you know when the 7-day week started and why it seems to be worldwide?
I didn't know that started in China. You say that?
I didn't say started, but they are parallel to us. They use the same week. Do you have any idea the origins of how dispersed this became?
I have absolutely no idea.
Okay, the other question, the police have their labels in English. Wow.
Because you find that in most countries, the police will be labeled in English or a linguistic equivalent that you can tell it's police. I mean, you find the same thing in Central Asia. Interestingly, in Central Asia, the police have name tags, a name badge. It also has a blood type on it. Be prepared. Yeah, Kathy?
I know you've been over this, but when did all those Muslims get as far east as Xi'an?
The question is, when did the Muslims get as far east as Xi'an? They moved into China in the early 9th century. The Battle of Talas River was, I think, in the late 8th century. That stopped them, but they moved as traders. They were moving in, basically from the time they moved out of Mecca as traders. Yeah, Albert. Question, yeah.
I heard that Wuhan caves were closed to tourists.
The question is whether the caves are closed to tourists or not. Part of them are. All the caves are now being digitized. I doubt if they will ever close them completely because it's too big for a tourist draw. But it's similar to the case with Lascaux Cave in France, where people started coming in and breathing and change the atmosphere. And that's why they rotate them, and that's why you only go in small groups. But there's a very active research program. If you go on the website, they are digitizing all the cave interiors. Duhong research. There are close ties between the University of Washington and in China in the Silk Road project, and I think they've been participating in some of the Duhong work as well. But, yeah, it's a real threat, and at the same time, tourism is increasing. And not only international tourism, but Chinese tourism. I would not like to, some of you may have traveled in China independently. I would not like to travel in China independently because I'd probably never get on a train or never get on an airplane because, they're going to push you aside. And it's really good to have somebody that speaks the language to tell people, let these people get on. I mean, as I say, if I were traveling independently in China, I may not have ever gotten any place. When I was young, I hitchhiked around the world. And now that I'm old, I want somebody to take care of me. I like to wander around on my own, but I want somebody to make sure there's a bus for me or a car or gets me on the train. I mean, I'm spoiled. Anything else? Anybody else? Okay, so what I'm going to do next week is I'll give you a kind of an overview of the Central Asian stands, talk about some of the general characteristics, and then After that, we'll get into the specific areas and cities. Thanks a lot.